we don't teach active listening. We don't teach executives or any employee in our company how to make someone else feel heard, feel understood, feel seen, which is where it starts. And if that can happen, then all kinds of trust builds and all the other things start to break away. So for example, after the murder of George Floyd, I was astonished at the number of people in a leadership position, regardless of mid-ranking on up, did nothing. In companies, people who lead teams, that after the murder of George Floyd, they didn't talk to their teams. They just did nothing. And it's not because they're bad people. It's because they didn't have the skills. They didn't know how to have an uncomfortable or difficult conversation. And so they chose nothing, which makes things worse. And this is just a skill we can teach people. And here's how to have a difficult conversation. You bring your team together and say, we need to have an uncomfortable conversation about race and our company. And I'm nervous to have this conversation because I'm afraid that I'm going to bumble something. I'm afraid that I'm going to say something that will trigger somebody. And I'm afraid I'm going to say something, or someone will say something, that may agitate and make this worse. But I think it's more important that we have this conversation than my fear of doing this perfectly. And that's how you start a difficult conversation. And it is difficult, but it is necessary. And those conversations are not happening. And again, not because of bad people, it's because people are afraid and they don't have the skills to start those conversations. And it is the responsibility of leaders, because that's why we call you leader. We call you leader because you go first. Not because you're in charge, but because you go first. First to the unknown, first to the difficult, first to the dangerous. And it is our responsibility as a corporation to empower and educate our leaders to do the things that they need to do with their teams. And of course, up on high, same thing. So I think that's where it begins. There's a tremendous lack of listening in our nation. So listening is a trust-building exercise, right? If you're in take it down to a personal relationship. If you've ever had a romantic relationship, a loved one, right? Making someone feel heard doesn't mean you're wrong. Saying sorry doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you take accountability for your actions. And I think it is important that we attempt to hear them, make them feel heard. Doesn't mean we have to agree, but they have to feel heard. And listening is not hearing the words. It's making the other person feel that they were heard. We don't get to decide when hearing has happened, when listening has happened. They do. And by the way, it's not 100% successful either, because some people are just hell-bent on, but that's a minority. And so I think the exercise is sitting down with people and say, tell me what you're going through. Tell me what you're afraid of. I want to understand, because we're trying to make everyone safe. I want to hear what your thing is. And let them tell their story. We have no answers. We're not there to object. We're not there to react. We're not there to fix or tell them that they're wrong. Women are better than this than men. And I think that has to happen. And it can happen simultaneously.